If you had asked me if I was going to have a course a decade ago, I would have laughed. I was a full-time creative, and that meant that we struggled significantly. So what did it feel like coming to a multi-million-dollar launch? It feels incredible, but for me, what it means is freedom. So my goal for years has been to get to a place to where I'm doing only the things that I can do. We talk about this as being in your zone of genius. I never thought that it was actually possible to get there. And I would say that I'm fairly close to it now. And it has been surprising. My name is Bonnie Christine. I'm a mother, artist, surface pattern designer, and I am a creator. I distinctly remember walking down an aisle of fabric, and it hit me like a ton of bricks that that was someone's job. This was about 2010. I was like, this wraps up everything that I would love to do for a career, but I had no art practice, no idea how to do it, no foot in the door at all, but the dream settled in really hard that day. The overwhelm kind of just kept me from doing it because I didn't know how to start. There was about 6 months that went by, and I finally woke up one morning and I kind of got mad about it. I was like, I have told, my husband and my family, this is what I want to do. And I had done nothing in order to even begin. Because I didn't know what it looked like, I didn't know how to start. And that day, it was the simplest thing. I thought, I know what I could do just today to start moving in that direction. And you know what it was? I just Googled how to become a fabric designer. Then I read some things that, spawned off new questions, and then I researched that, and one thing led to the next. And so the thing that I promised myself that day was that I was going to do one thing every single day to just inch myself towards this dream. I was a full-time creative, and that meant that we struggled significantly. I remember looking up how much my husband and I were making for several years there, and it was the number that was like poverty for the state that we were living in. Literally nothing so impossible had ever happened in my life. It changed me. It made me feel like really big things are possible. And I just never knew that before. And slowly it changed way more than that. It made me believe in other people too. It made me believe that if you have a big dream, you can make it happen, and you can do it as simply as those tiny movements forward. It doesn't have to be quick or overnight or anything. It's just a consistency and progress. And so it's made me continue to set big goals and big heights, and then I do the same thing. I just start chipping away at them. It was in 2012, after I got my first licensing contract, that I decided to go all in. And so I've been designing collections ever since. And that was a full-time job as a creative. I was doing that and many other things, as all creatives do, selling on Etsy and blogging and selling a little bit of like those sidebar ads on my blog back in the day, and just making enough. It was $5 a month, and I got 200 people on my opening weekend, and that was $1,000 a month, which was the most predictable income and also the most income that I had ever made. And that is the first time that I got recurring revenue. Once I figured that out, I started layering it in anywhere I could. If you had asked me if I was going to have a course a decade ago, I would have laughed. I was so nervous. It went very well, and I got home and I thought like, so glad that's over, never gonna do it again. And just very slowly, I started hearing from people all over the world. And specifically, it was women who were writing into me who had maybe a job that they hated and they had quit their day job. Or maybe they had small children at home that they wanted to be with and do something alongside with, and they were able to do that. And they had taken this class, and they had not only learned Adobe Illustrator, but they had really started following like really big dreams. And I still don't really know what it is, but something about it gave people permission to do what they really longed to do. And it slowly became very evident that that was also my calling, was to educate on top of just illustrating for myself. I had an email list, and it was one of those that had accumulated over the years from this thing in my sidebar that said, join my newsletter. And I remember feeling like my email list needs love and I don't know how to do it. Like, everyone is talking about growing your email list. And I had, I think, about 4,000 people in 2017. My open rate was 6%, which means that my audience was cold and dead. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know how they ended up on my list. And I didn't either, because I wasn't communicating with them at all. And so in the fall of 2017, I knew that I wanted to launch my course in February of 2018. So I had 5 months to buckle down and really do what I thought I needed to do. And so I started communicating with my list as if they were real people, which they are. And what I did was create a nurture sequence and use that as a re-engagement sequence for my existing lists. I re-engaged who I had, and then I started an opt-in and started adding new people. By the end of that, I had grown to around just over 8,000 subscribers on my email list, and I had increased my open rate to 66%. So I was getting ready to launch this course. It was a big course at the time. It was $1,000. And I had in my soul that I really wanted 100 people. But that number, I only told my husband. I was really nervous. It was open for 1 week, and we closed down with 352 students. What? Completely life-changing. I mean, completely life-changing. So that was year one, and I've done this same course every year since. And ever since then, the course numbers doubled every single year. In year one, it was 352 students. Year two, it was 640. Year three was 1,450. And year four was just over 3,000. The course price had gone up from $997 to $1,297. We also invite alumni to come back at a deep discount, so they get like 75% off. So with both of them combined, we had over 4,500 students, which put the launch this past year at $4.2 million. What? That is absurd. What did it feel like coming to a multi-million-dollar launch? It's so far above a feeling that you can even wrap your arms around. It feels incredible, but for me, what it means is freedom. Yes, freedom for your immediate family, freedom for the different things that you want to do, but it's also freedom to make change where you want to see change happen. It's freedom to make an impact in your community. It's also freedom to make an impact with other people. Absolutely, my first and foremost priority is email. And it's the only thing that truly brings it home. You know, I see a lot of us spending a lot of time on social media platforms and growing this, that, and the other. And there is a place for that. It's a beautiful place to meet and greet. But I think at the end of the day, we don't own it. And so really committing to growing your email list first is, for me, what has been the most reliable way to get to where I want to go. And so my goal has always been to have more email list subscribers than I do social media followers. I made that come true this past year. And, you know, I think that's hard because even if we would shy away from admitting this, there's a little bit of vanity involved because the number is public. And no one has your public email list number or whatever, but it's truly what brings your success back into your hands. And once you know how it converts, continue doing the same thing. Like, don't forget to communicate with them as if it's one person, no matter how many it is. Really connect with your audience. Don't focus on selling to them, just serve them and serve them well. That is the only way that I got to a 7-figure launch, was by focusing on that, truly. The best way that I found to grow my list is to give some things away that are really hard to give away. They're really, really good. They're like a hands down, yes, I'll give you my email for that. One of them is a guide. So it's like 52-page industry guide of quite a lot of information on how to get started in the industry and what it looks like. And then I have a video course that's free, and it allows someone who's never touched artwork or Adobe Illustrator to finish that mini class with their artwork on a product. And then we drive traffic to both of those via paid traffic. So I grew my business completely organically for almost 10 years, 9 years. And that was when I had made it to about 6,000 people on my email list. And then in the last 4 years, I've gained over 100,000 email subscribers. And that has been absolutely some organic traffic in there. I believe in it, but it's been boosted heavily by paid traffic. I think really early on social media, we got accustomed to building it and watching people come. And then all of our platforms got really smart really quickly. People are just not seeing our content. And so when we get comfortable with spending even a little bit of money, I mean, if you're adding 10 people a day, you're growing. And that's kind of that just consistency. This topic of creative entrepreneurship is so interesting because it requires that someone really have two sides to their brain, the creative side and the business side. I think everyone does this differently, but I typically don't do business and art on the same day. It is very much like a switch, on or off, and I go all in on both. So I have seasons of artwork creation. I would say I do like 30 days at a time, and still definitely have to show up for my business, but I'm not doing this big brainy business stuff during those times. I'm solely focused on artwork. So at minimum, it's 2 30-day sessions throughout the year. And I will go into these big kind of like artwork creation months. And then I have all this creative output that I can really kind of flow off of for the rest of the year. Now, many people are able to do like 2 hours of artwork in the morning. And I love that. I think that's probably more balanced. But for me and my brain, it's like a switch on and off. And so I will go a month without really creating artwork. I don't think I've ever said that. And then I have to kind of get back into it and go back and forth. But I love both so much. And it works because of the way my business kind of flows. I very much know what inspires me, and I kind of go chase after it. And for me, it's nothing that I can do behind a screen. So this is really why I fell in love with surface design. It was that pulling away from technology and kind of getting me out into really what I love. And for me, that's nature. I love flowers. Everyone's like, can I draw something other than flowers? And I'm like, yes, you draw whatever you're obsessed with. But for me, it's florals always. This has led me to grow a garden, and I grow very specifically the things that I know I want to incorporate in my work. And so I get to see it really grow. And then when I have a finalized piece of work, I can take it back to really like the seed. I would say every piece of my work has something really personal in it. Every collection has a story, and then every piece in that collection has something deeply personal in it. And some are known and some nobody will know. Inspiration, or this act of gathering information, is learning. It's that like preparatory stage. And it's like really easy to get stuck there because it's actually easier to learn than it is to do. So from that gathering of information, you have to move into implementation or creation phase, actually implementing on what you gathered in phase 1. And you have to implement, you have to do the work. And that's that deep work, the things that are actually moving the needle. And it doesn't happen by accident. It's hard and also vastly rewarding. And that's also easy to get stuck in. And getting stuck in the doing leads to burnout. And it also leads to never learning anything new. And I've been stuck in that phase before. So I've been stuck in the implementation phase. This probably happens to every like one person show because you're doing and you're doing and you're doing. And if you ever find yourself saying, I don't have time to read that book, or I don't have time to read that class or learn how to grow my email list, then that's really when you're stuck in the doing and you must move into the rejuvenation phase. So rejuvenation phase looks like resting or playing or doing something creative that you cannot monetize and doing it for fun. And that's kind of where you refill those deep reservoirs of your creative self, and then you can move into the information phase again. I think the thing I wasn't prepared for was the vulnerability of being a professional creator in the public eye. We all want huge followings. We all want 1 million followers or 100,000 followers or 10,000 followers, like more than we have. And with every follower is an opinion and a person. And I think there's some work that needs to be done in order to be able to handle that I don't think I had done. It wasn't something that was on the top of my radar, and I kind of had to retroactively do some like personal growth in order to get to a place where I was confident and comfortable. And probably one of the simplest things that like any of us can do is get really confident in our why. If we're super confident in why we're doing what we're doing, then no amount of feedback or opinions can kind of derail you. Something that's helped me is learning that the feedback that you get, no matter what it is, tells you about the person who's giving it to you. And so if someone absolutely loves your work, you can say, that person really likes work like this. And if someone absolutely hates your work, you can simply disconnect from it and say, that person doesn't prefer this type of work. Or if they don't like this particular value that you've leaned into, well, that person's not your person. But I think that something that should be empowering is knowing that there are plenty of people in the world who do agree with whatever it is that you think, believe, whatever kind of work that you put out in the world. No matter what it is, there's a market that aligns with it. And so your job is to share enough in order to find it. The more you can lean into those things that make you uniquely you, your values, your beliefs, your type of artwork, your niche really, then the more magnetized you will be, which means you will deeply magnetize people towards you and also away from you. And the away from you is the part that can be a little painful because they will leave oftentimes with an opinion that you get to firsthand hear or read, but it's an important shift to get you closer to the people who are your people. That's really where the magic happens, is when you're surrounded by way more than an audience. They are your community, and they stand behind you, and they get you, and they believe in you, and they respond to your emails, and they really are invested in what you're doing. I think one of the biggest challenges with growth as a creative is getting help. And there's a resistance to it because we're proud to be able to do it on our own. We're also uncertain of how to find someone who would be willing to help. We're also uncertain if our business can pay for it, because what creative business is predictable? It all feels very unpredictable. Leading a community or leading students was one thing, but leading like an intimate team and being a good boss and a good leader is not something I ever really prepared for. And there's a shift that does happen where you start to trust your own business. It has proved itself over and over. And actually, you trust your own business and then you decide to trust your own ability to be inventive and to pivot. And so it's actually not your business, it's you. It's your brain that allows you to ebb and flow with the industry. And at some point you begin to trust that you will have the right idea at the right time. And when you build trust in your business and when you build trust into your own creative inventiveness, then you are more able to trust that you can hire help. You will likely hire help before you trust your business, and you'll need to in order to grow. For me, that was like a little bit of help with my house, or a little bit of help with my kids, or just a little bit of help with like maybe meal delivery or something that would just allow me to free up a little bit more of my time, because we really truly cannot do it all. Really and truly, we cannot do it all. And so then we sort of start to identify the things that we could give away. And then you slowly start to hire. And so my entire team is virtual and went from 1 to 2 to 3. We pretty much jumped to 6. This for me was one of the hardest things to feel like I could trust someone else with, because when you grow your own business, it's your heart, your words that go into every single response. One of the best things for me to learn is that not only do people already feel the same way that I felt, but they can also learn. So we spent the good part of last year developing something that we call the Brand and Values Guide. And we've put into booklet format what the Bonnie Christine brand is and what our values are. And then we can formulate a way for other people to really infuse their own heart and words in all of it too. I think the best part about being a professional creator is really loving what I do. And if any of us have the opportunity to truly be in love with the thing that you do every single day, it's an opportunity that can't be missed. And it's an opportunity that you can take up on any time too. You're never too old or never too late or never too deep into another industry to step away from it and really do what you love. And it has taken turns that I never thought it would. Never thought that I would be an educator. Never thought that I would be a boss. Never thought that I would have a team. And all of it is so uniquely fulfilling and fun and exciting that I can't get enough of it.